Hey everyone, you're listening to another episode of the All Things Private Practice podcast. I'm your host, Patrick.Casale. I'm joined today by Molly Herold and Reese Ramponi. I hope I said that right, Reese. I'm sorry if I didn't. Um, Molly is a white, non-binary, queer mental health therapist in private practice outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Molly specializes in intersectional identity exploration with a focus on trans non-binary folks and folks who have experienced trauma and neurodivergent people. Reese, they, them, is a psychiatric nurse practitioner providing queer and neurodiversity-affirming evaluations, group therapy, and psychiatry to their clients in a community health setting for over 5 years. And have created together, Molly owns a company called Neuroabundant, where you're doing neurodivergent-affirming retreats. You two are collaborating on courses, trainings, assessment trainings, deep dives into neurodivergence and neurodivergent-affirming care. I don't know if I just botched all of that, but anyway. If there's anything either of you want to add to that, please feel free, but I'm happy to have you on here and happy to have this conversation.
No, I think you nailed it. Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome. So you two are kind of in the midst of being ready to host your second retreat. I think you have one in Alaska coming up, right, in August. And I think it's fascinating, as someone who hosts a lot of retreats, to see retreats hosted by neurodivergent humans and specifically for neurodivergent people. And we can get to the assessments and the trainings too, but I really think this is a really awesome thing to talk about. So can you both just tell me a little bit about how this came to be, and how you two kind of started working together?
Yeah. I met Reese on the internet in a group that doesn't exist anymore, but some that have come to replace it for therapists supporting neurodiversity. And Reese and I just had a lot in common, and I reached out to them and was like, hey, can you teach me about ADHD evaluations and assessment? This is something I've been curious about for a long time and want to offer to my clients. And they started just kind of consulting with me, and that friendship grew, and we kind of continued to want to collaborate on larger and larger projects. Mainly we've been doing these courses, but I think it's also come to my attention that we need a place to play and reset and reconnect. And I think that's a big missing piece in neurodivergent professional experience.
Yeah, and since I'm working in a community health setting in my kind of day job, meeting Molly was pretty inspiring to me because I was doing all these trainings and things outside, and Molly's like, yeah, you can make some of that your life. You don't always have to work inside the system. So getting involved and getting to go to be a speaker at the first Neuroabundant retreat last year was just such a cool experience. And when Molly was like, let's do the next one in Alaska, let's collaborate on this, I was like, absolutely. Because I'm from Alaska. So it's also kind of bringing it home for me.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. And I love when collaborations take place like this, where you didn't know each other, you have common interests, you start to spend more time communicating and see wow, this is someone I really want to spend more time with, not just personally, but professionally. And this can turn into really fantastic partnership too. And we can create such cool things together. So really awesome on that regard. You have the Alaska one coming up. Talk to us a little bit about your first retreat experience and how and why did this develop into what it's developed, Molly?
Yeah. I think there's a bit of a trouble with regular conference type spaces. I'm sure you've been to lots of conferences that are kind of stuffy, certain expectations. There's just a lot of things that happen that I knew that I could offer a different space for people to explore and be authentic. Basically just heavily masked experiences, many places encouraging people to kind of perpetuate neurotypical communication norms. And I just knew I could create an intentional space around conversations around unmasking and kind of naming what we're experiencing in it. Group dynamics, transparency, those are other things we thought a lot about, especially for this retreat. Thinking about folks who were attending before this last retreat and then are coming to the new one and wanting to integrate people and make sure that everyone feels comfortable getting to know each other, and kind of creating a long-term community that builds and builds over time. Sometimes you experience that ADHD magic of just you just click immediately. Sometimes it's important to support that, right? I'm gonna pass it over to Reese. Maybe Reese can help me say a couple more of these things.
That just made me think. I think there's so much beauty in the like neurodivergent connection, like the similar communication patterns, all these things. And I even forget that sometimes it's still not easy, even within neurotype, to connect. And that it's going to feel awkward sometimes, and it's going to feel weird. And I'm really excited to build a space that's like intentional around, we're having a virtual get together beforehand so that folks who've been there before and new folks can like get to know each other a little bit, and to be really thoughtful about thinking about all the past retreat conference experiences that me and Molly and the people we've spoken to have had, and how we can like fine tune things for our people to meet their needs.
Yeah, I love that. I think the intentionality is huge, especially when you're hosting events, and especially when you're working with people with really sensitive sensory systems and systems in general, and really making sure people feel comfortable and supported. Yeah, Molly, like you said, have been to several conferences, summits, trainings where I'm just so bored or like so stir crazy. I can't sit still. I end up leaving 99% of the time. And it's more like this romanticized idea of, oh yeah, I can participate in this. And then I get there and I'm like, no, there's absolutely no way I can just sit here for hours at a time and like not get up and not pace and not stim and not move around. And so it just doesn't work for me. And I think that, with all the retreats that we are hosting, Jennifer and I and myself, trying really hard to incorporate the best of both worlds in that regard, because without giving permission to people to actually take care of their systems, that's where a lot of high masking comes into play, right? Where people are like sitting there and they're like clenching their fists and they're like doing their best to try to like make eye contact and show up and pay attention. And I'm like, this does not work for me. I cannot ask people to do the same thing. So I really love that you are intentionally creating that. I love the idea of having the Zoom call before the event so that people can kind of get acclimated, drop in, especially for those who are returning guests. Because for me, we have people who have come to 6, 7, 8 retreats now out of the last 3 years. It's become very tight knit, but you have to find ways to integrate people who maybe this is their first experience. Maybe this is their first travel experience by themselves and are probably feeling quite overwhelmed. So I love that. And it sounds like y'all are really trying to be as intentional as you can be in terms of everything that you're creating.
Yeah, and I love the opportunity to, because I know I've gone to some retreats or things, and I was confused because I was like, I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something, and then I recognize that, oh, this group, they already know each other. They did this last year together. I'm coming in from the outside. I realized that on day 3, and it's taken up so much of my mental energy. So I'm excited to be able to be like, hey, folks, you are the new ones. That might feel a little bit weird, and welcome.
Yep.
Just naming it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that if you just name, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to like integrate and work into things.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a huge crucial component, especially when you're working with the neurodivergent community. Like, be transparent, disclose, be very intentional about your communication and set expectations that way. And also name the awkwardness and the uncomfortability and the anxiety that comes with travel and being in social groups and settings and situations where you're going to be out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? Like, when I travel as much as I do, I'm still unbelievably uncomfortable, like with big transitions, with different environments, trying to fall asleep in new places, which basically doesn't happen. So there are lots of ways to support each other in these environments where you can try as hard as you can to just name the stuff, support throughout, and offer that guidance. And it sounds like you're creating something really unique and really special right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also just like offering more information. I think even you like mentioned that earlier in this conversation, but just like having information available. I know that's been a big thing for me, like attending places far away and like traveling or going to a conference, just like not knowing where to park, like just like the regular small stuff that like really breaks a lot of our brains. If it's front loaded and offered, and then also like continuously offering the opportunity to like ask questions, check in, email me, that kind of thing, just being really readily available to support people. And then, yeah, you mentioned like being bored. That's another thing we're trying to definitely solve, like being able to move, encouraged to move, and then take sensory breaks. So like that we're definitely working that into the schedule the whole time, being really considerate about allowing for downtime, and that nothing is mandatory, that everything is an invitation, and that like you're not going to miss out on something crucial if you need to go take some time in your room alone to reset. And also like there's kind of a high expectation with neurodivergent people because like we're all super nerds, right? So like that's the other thing I think our retreats are offering, is just this like this deep dive into whatever it is that Reese and I and the world kind of wants to get into, this opportunity to like get really, really close to material. yeah, we're trying to like think about different themes we want to offer for different retreats. And I think definitely this year, a major focus has been kind of like decolonization of the work that we're doing, right? And how that the neurodiversity movement intersects with tons and tons of other really important and necessary like social movements. And yeah, just grateful to have speakers that are really excited about talking about that stuff.
Yeah, I actually had a thought on that too. I feel like I've seen kind of a bit of a siloing of the neurodiversity movement, and sometimes a recreation of the wheel. And I think we can improve in like efforts to be intersectional and recognize what like values we share and what methods have already been developed through frameworks of disability justice, anti-racism, decolonization, and healing justice. Instead of recreating these things, like where do they already exist? What other movements can we connect with? So I think for that reason, the retreat's like a bit of a double focus. Like, how do you exist and thrive as a neurodivergent business builder? And how is that process intersectionally tied to like our shared movement towards collective liberation and all of these other movements?
Yeah, no, that's the powerful stuff for sure. And so many of us are so deeply involved with our values and the things that we find really important. So I think being able to do those deep dives in a setting that feels unique, where you're having new stimulation, new environment, new things to take in and process with new people, that can be really exciting, especially for the ADHD folks like ourselves, where it's like, oh, the ADHD part really loves all this. And then the autistic part for me would be like, okay, but I do need all those decompression breaks. I do need like the structure. I do need to be able to like have certain expectations. So finding the best of both worlds has always been the thing that I'm trying to aim for as well. And trying to find that balance, especially in event settings. And that brings me to a point where, like, as a host, as hosts in general, how do y'all experience that throughout? Because for me, I just got done hosting 5 retreats in 5 months, and that is way too much. I will never do that again to myself. Lesson learned, knew it going in. But I notice, for myself, how often I need to step away as the host or co-host. And I name that in the beginning. Like, I probably will not be involved in everything that we have on the schedule. I'm going to take breaks to reset my system. I'm going to take breaks to kind of sensory soothe. And I encourage you all to do the same. So how has that been for you two, in one setting so far and going into the second?
Yeah.
Oh, can I go first?
Okay, cool. Yeah, you go first.
I was going to Molly's retreat like last year as a speaker, and like the first thing I noticed was like how much you were doing, Molly. Like, and then so as soon as Molly was like, let's collaborate, I was like, okay, we need one person that is full time there just to like help us out with some of the small things. And Molly was like, are you sure? And I was like, absolutely, I'm 100% sure, because I don't want to be doing as many things as you were doing. And I'm so excited to have a friend of mine who's a training to be a therapist, really dedicated to neurodiversity affirming care, who's going to be there the whole week, like just as our like on the ground support person. And that I think has already helped reduce even just communication with participants, like getting this virtual get together. So good to have that person.
100%. I think you nailed it, Reese. Like the first retreat, it was really just like, I want to do this thing. There's no way I'm going to do this thing unless I jump headfirst into it. And so like, that's what I did. And I just like kind of threw like 5 to 6 months of planning into this like one weekend experience. And it was really draining. It was really exhausting. It was wonderful. I loved connecting with people there, but it did take a lot of energy. I think that the retreats appealed to me because of my like systems energy, right? That kind of builds throughout time, and then like kind of giving a lot in a weekend felt good for me. But yeah, I think bringing Reese on board and then like recognizing that I might need more support. I'm going to mute it.
Yeah, I can totally relate. And I think having a point person is crucial for some of this stuff, like someone who can take some of the load off. So you don't have to be front and center for everything as the co-host or host. A lot of the time, you are like on from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And I have found certain strategies that have really helped with that, like booking speaker accommodations that are not in the same location as all the attendees, so that you can go away and you can decompress. I can unmask to the best of my abilities. I can sensory soothe. I don't have to talk to anybody. That is super helpful for me. My business partner is neurotypical, so she's quite extroverted too. And for me, I'm like, hey, I'm done for the day. Here's everything. Like, just take it all, like the socializing, the connecting, the answering questions. And she's always like on board for it. And that is super helpful for me because what I don't want is to come to these events and show up as like the worst version of myself. And if I don't take care of my needs, I don't take care of my sensory system, I don't take care of my sleep, then that's what people are going to get. And that's not the opportunity that I'm trying to create and offer. So a lot of intentionality and, a lot of credit to you, Molly, because I know how much work goes on behind the scenes to make these things happen. And it's quite exhausting.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's definitely a labor of love. And yeah, I think even just thinking about this, I'm like, we like that concept of the ADHD tax or the ADHD tax, right? Like we are making this intentional choice to get additional support. Like we technically have like 6 helpers, right? Like amidst our partners and the person we like are offering this space to assist us, right? And that means we're taking less profit, but that's also kind of like sustainable in the long run. And that's a big thing for Neuroabundant in general, is just encouraging people to think about sustainability and accessibility as long run options and offers, right? That you need to think about it in the larger scale, that you might burn out if you offer too much of yourself.
Yep, 100%. I mean, people are asking me what I have planned for 2026 right now. And I'm like, I can't even get through 2024. I mean, so for me, I'm doing 6 events a year. I've agreed to only do them in odd numbered months because if I don't do that, the ADHD side of me likes to say yes to all of the opportunities that come my way. And the autistic side of me likes to say, like, what the fuck are you doing? We are beyond burnt out. So I've realized like having to reshape and reshift and recategorize the things that are important to me. And a lot of those are going to be the things that regenerate and recharge and soothe, opposed to the things that take and take and take, despite how exciting the opportunity may seem at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing to rein in, right? That desire to do all the things all the time. But there is a cost to it if if you're doing it all the time, for sure.
Absolutely.
As you two are talking, I'm just reflecting a little bit on how the fact that this is happening like an hour from where I grew up on land that I know, with the climate patterns and humidity. I know exactly how my sensory system will feel in this environment, and that like dramatically increases my capacity to like run this, as opposed to being me and Molly both going to a brand new space where we're also dealing with the newness. And I think that is bringing so much comfort to me. It was so great last summer. My partner and I got to like drive around in the like RV we're borrowing to the different potential retreat sites, and that feels good.
Yeah, I think the newness is definitely like its own kind of challenge, right? That's why I chose Colorado the first time, is because my family's been there for many years, and so I've been visiting, and so I kind of had that like, okay, I already have a foot on the ground. So my autistic parts that are not going to freak out completely that this is an entirely new environment, and having you on the ground in Alaska is just this similar kind of step in that direction. I'm excited to do international things eventually, but I'm kind of like baby stepping my way to it.
I'm also just like so excited. Like going to Alaska is expensive in every situation, and I'm just so excited to have like built something that's like legitimately like at about the same or cheaper than if you were to like go up on your own. Like I'm just so proud of that, because it's hard to do Alaska, and we did a good job.
Yep.
Be proud, because I again know how much work and effort and energy goes into making something where you really want people to get the value out of it, and really being intentional about location selection and vendor selection and speaker selection and everything that goes into every detail of the event. So I hope you both can absorb some of that and take that in, because it's a huge deal to create this stuff and put it on and actually sell spots, because I see a lot of the opposite, unfortunately, which is like the real struggle to just get the idea off the ground, even if it's a great idea. And that's a bummer, because I know how much emotional energy goes into creation. And I like what you said, Reese, about your sensory system is already going to know what it's like to experience this environment, and that gives you more capacity. And that's something I've had to be really aware of, because my heat intolerance is basically like non-existent. So I really can't do events in environments that are more than like 70, 75 degrees tops because I will shut down so quickly. We were in southern Spain in April. We got a cold wave, which was 90 degrees, and it was just so challenging. And I want to take it in. I want to be present. I want to like do the things, but I'm like, I think I just need to sit in my air conditioned room for the day and like just be still because it's so challenging. So I go to Ireland every March. I've done that. This will be my 4th year in a row in March. And despite the weather maybe not being, I don't know, ideal for most people, the idea of like 50 to 60 degrees and rain and like overcast feels pretty good to me. So I look forward to that quite a bit in the same way.
Huh. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to experiencing like 18 to 20 hours of sunlight. That's not something that I've ever experienced in my life. And most of us that haven't spent time like closer to the poles have. I'm also a little, I'm like, I don't know how my body's going to react to this. It's going to be totally different. Sleep might get really hard and weird, you know?
Yeah, and that's probably something that we want to like talk about in our like virtual get together too, because I think it'll be new for a lot of people, and neurodivergent people are definitely sensitive to those types of changes. And I call myself like I'm a sleep hero. I can sleep anywhere, anytime. I attribute that to growing up in Alaska, where it's like light streaming in the window, and I'm just like snoring. So
that makes me so jealous.
I know.
I'm like, man, I think I slept an hour last night and it was just like torturous, honestly. But Molly, that's a great point. And I'm glad that we all just, y'all just name that because you can bring that to the attention of your welcome, like virtual event. Because I was in Iceland a couple of years ago. I think it was in May. It was light out 24 hours a day. And it was a situation where I've never experienced that. And it was so disorienting where your body is like, hey, you're tired, but it is completely bright out at 2 a.m. and you're like, I don't think I should be asleep right now. So it was challenging. So that's a great thing to bring up into, like you said, the more communication and the more support you can offer to your guests before, during, and after, I think the better. And I think that just really goes a long way in terms of planning some of this stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned also like in some of your posts about just like the difficulties of jet lag. I think for folks coming from the East Coast, like Alaska might be the furthest they've actually been, and there isn't quite the same jet lag as going international, but it is a lot of travel. It is going pretty far. For some folks, we've definitely encouraged like stopping in the middle if they can, if they have the ability to take that time off and spend a little bit of extra money staying in a city in the middle.
Literally.
Just kind of breaking up that travel, because also just like long travel days can be really hard on our bodies, and just encouraging people to think about that. And that doesn't have to be done this one way because it's the way that people usually do it. Right.
Exactly. And that's like the epitome of creating something that feels really ND affirming, because ultimately that's what you're saying is like, yeah, this might cost you more in some ways, but in reality, it's actually going to save you more energetically, mentally, physiologically, etc. And that's what I'll do. Like if I go to Alaska, if I go to Hawaii, California, Seattle, etc., for a night or two to just orient and just like get off a plane, because the travel it can be so exhausting. And I just feel disgusting in airports and on airplanes, and my sensory stuff is in like hell. So the first thing I want to do is like clean, hot shower immediately, get out of these clothes, get prepared to go on the next journey. And that can be really helpful to break that stuff up.
Yeah. I knew we had a cool crew the first retreat when one of the participants who I'd never met before, had never really talked to online, but was coming to this thing, right, all the way in Colorado, took a picture of the sensory room in the Seattle airport and was like, this should be everywhere. And I'm like, yes, it should. Also, I'm so happy you're coming.
Yep. And those are the things that y'all can do, right? Is like for certain airports, taking videos and photos of like where transportation gets set up, layout, etc. Hell, I'll do that for the Asheville airport, because the Asheville airport is a nightmare. And despite it being very tiny, it's always under construction. So like anytime I do events here, just like videos of where to arrive, videos of where to get lifts and Ubers, like lots of things like that, videos of meeting points, and putting those in the group settings and chats, because just trying to help people feel as prepared and secure as possible in some of these experiences that create a lot of anxiety for really anyone, let alone someone who is neurodivergent in general.
Yeah. I'm remembering going to your New Orleans retreat and you making this comment of like, okay, everyone's here. I can breathe now. And I didn't understand it then, but now I totally do, because there's this like heightened experience of like, what? Okay, everyone's got to land. Everyone's got to get to the venue. I got to make sure everyone is safe in here and accounted for.
I cannot settle in until every single person gets to like the welcome check-in, whatever, because travel is so messy in general. And I'm always concerned, like flight delays, cancellations, interruptions, all the things that can go wrong. So until that happens, I am like on 10, and then I can settle down a little bit, and then I resume my normal like 8 anxiety instead of a 10. But it's a lot. So, again, as the hosts, giving yourselves permission to take care of your systems, and that way you're also supporting your attendees. And it sounds like you're really creating something that's really well thought out, really intentionally done, really unique. So I give you both a lot of credit for embarking on this. I want to pivot quickly to some of the other stuff that you're doing together, because I think that's also equally important in a lot of ways too. So talk about some of the trainings that you're doing and why those feel so important to Neuroabundant right now.
For sure. Do you want me to tackle this, Reese, or you want to take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, I think so. We have one primary flagship kind of course that has done really well, because I think it's a really high need area, and that's master's level diagnosing and evaluating for ADHD, right? Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that as an even option for master's level providers, which is actually like a big reason why Reese and I met, because it's something that I wanted to offer to my clients. And Reese was like, you can do that. That's not illegal. And here's how you can do it ethically and in a neurodiversity affirming way. And so we built this course out of that kind of concept, because it's a misunderstood thing, and also something that has a lot of material around it, right? Doing it in a truly neurodiversity affirming way, and not a 15-minute appointment or, a battery of tests that takes like 2 weeks and 8 weeks to get your information and results, right? So somewhere in the middle that really accounts for people's experience and like honors and validates that. Yeah, we've met therapists from all over the country. It's been really cool experience to share this knowledge with folks.
Yeah, thanks for that. Got me thinking. I think I'm in an interesting position because I'm a master's level provider. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner with a master's degree in nursing. My scope of practice in the state of Connecticut is the same as a psychiatrist. There's like 2 very specific things that I can't do. So I often work with therapists who are like, oh, I'm going to send this client to you for an ADHD evaluation. And I'm like, you can do that. You're allowed to do that. And I started noticing this gap in care, even just within the state. And I was like, I think I want to start training on this. And that was like years ago. And now it's developed so beautifully into this project with Molly. It's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's foundational, but it's also just like the beginning, I think, of a lot of neurodiversity affirming education in general, right? Because it's a major gap for mental health providers, but also just like the community in general, right? And like we are at the like crest of this wave of like people really talking about it and getting excited about it. And it's a cool thing to be a part of. Also, like there's a lot of misinformation and like potential for harm, and still just like tons of gatekeeping, right? And so I think that using our position of power, we have the opportunity to encourage people to really get into this stuff in a positive way.
Yeah, no, that's well said. We could deep dive that all day. I mean, hell, some of the threads in my Facebook group about who can and can't do this stuff, I'm like, y'all, if you want to be accessible and affirming, a 2-year wait list is not that. Like the ability to say only one license type can do this thing is not that. So there's just so much misinformation out there, and it's nice to see so many people showing up and really putting themselves out there to say, hey, this is what can be done. This is how you can do it ethically. This is how you can do it in an affirming way. This is how you can do it accessibly. And I think that is really what matters. And especially for so many people, like diagnosis can be life altering and life saving. And for so many people who are going with the unknown of like feeling like, what the hell's going on here for me? I don't understand myself. I don't understand life in a lot of ways, or why things feel so challenging so often. The lens that you can have shifted and perspective change when you have an affirming diagnosis process can be so empowering in a lot of ways too. So just want to say, like, again, big shout out and congrats on doing this stuff, because it's really, really valuable and it's super important right now.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited about Molly, I feel like I was first started being like, ooh, looking into all the scope of practice for every therapist type in every state. So I started getting excited about that, and I thought I was excited. But then Molly went all in and is creating this interactive map where you can click on the state and it'll show you whether you can diagnose based on your license in that state. And I'm so excited for that resource for folks.
That's
Yeah. It's been the nerdiest deep dive I think I've ever had, just because it's legal ease, and this stuff is just not easy to find.
Yeah.
I tried to enroll the help of ChatGPT, and ChatGPT broke on me, and I was like, cool, that's why this is genuinely hard material to find. So I'm super excited. It's so close to being done, and within this week I think it should be out there in the world so that people can use it.
That's amazing. Congrats on that, because that's huge. And you're right, it's really challenging to find this information, and I think it's challenging intentionally done for a lot of reasons. Same thing with people trying to find insurance fee rates, and people are being like, we can't talk about that. And it's come on, this is so intentionally done to keep people from having any sort of unification process so that you can get paid more. And it's bullshit. You'll sign an insurance contract, you won't even get the fee schedule until a month later. You don't even know what you just signed.
What other employment sector would that be okay? Right? It would be allowed. It wouldn't.
I can feel myself getting amped up on this.
Yeah. It's I could go off on that. That's a whole other
episode.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get ready to wrap this up, we're going to push this episode because I think y'all still have spots for this retreat that comes out soon. So tell the audience, if you do have spots, what they're getting into.
Yeah, we definitely do have spots. We have a handful left. We're stopping registration on July 4th just so that we can make sure we focus on building a really good program for everyone that will be attending. So that's the hard deadline. We're going to spend a week in Alaska. We're going to do all of the really awesome Alaska things. We're going to be kayaking. We're going to be hiking. We're going to be checking out bears and otters and whales, just all of the best animals that you don't get to experience when you don't live in a place like that. We also just have a fuck ton of educational material that is really incredible and deep. And so that's going to be all interspersed throughout the week, while also just allowing for time to sit out on the beach and collect shells and just listen to the ocean, So it's not going to be crazy fast paced, but there is going to be a lot of offerings and a lot of potential to do things. And it's a really great community. You're just going to connect with really amazing neurodivergent professionals from all across the country.
Love it.
Yeah,
what are the dates and where is it for those who might be interested?
Sorry, can you say that again?
What are the dates and where is it exactly for those who might be interested? Yeah,
it's August 6th through 13th in Homer, Alaska. It's all inclusive. We provide transportation and everything within getting to Alaska.
Reese, what you got? I was you wanted to jump in on that.
Yeah, we're coming up to the airport in Anchorage to pick people up, driving them all the way down to Homer. I think I had another thought, but it has escaped me.
That's okay.
I guess one thing I'm really excited about is, my dad is a jazz musician. He moved from Boston to Alaska back in the 70s. And he's a neurodivergent entrepreneur, and we are running a retreat for neurodivergent entrepreneurs. And I've been singing with my dad since I was a teenager, and we're going to have a little, we're going to do a little jazz show. So we get to have our neurodivergent Alaska jazz dad that come down for a little thing. So that's something I'm excited about.
Love that. That's awesome. That sounds really wonderful and a really incredibly intentionally curated experience. So we will get this out fairly quickly so that it can come out before that July 4th hard stop registration deadline. And, best of luck on this event and all your trainings and future events that are going to be coming up. It's really cool to witness and to watch transpire. And it's really, really awesome. So appreciate you both coming on. Can you share with the audience where they can find more of you if they want to on social media or in general?
Yes, definitely. Neuroabundant.com has all of the things. We're also Neuroabundant on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram's a little quieter. I don't post as much there, but you'll still get information. And it's neuro, like our neurology, and abundant, like abundance. All one word. Come hang out. We'd love to have you.
We'll have that in the show notes for everyone too. So you have easy access to the Neuroabundant following. the links for the retreat in Alaska, and the trainings that Reese and Molly also offer. Thank you both so much for coming on and making the time and having this conversation. And yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awkward goodbyes are the worst part of the podcast. To everyone listening to All Things Private Practice, all new episodes are out on Saturdays on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. You can like, download, subscribe, and share. Doubt yourself. Do it anyway. We'll see you next week.